Now, research institutes and think tanks, including the Institute of Risk Management SA, have highlighted risk factors that continue to bring a negative impact on the functioning of South Africa if things don't change. These include the energy crisis, the economic crisis, failing infrastructure, rampant corruption, and runaway crime, among other issues. Earlier this year, at the World Economic Forum, South Africa representatives in Davos identified the collapse of the state debt crisis and the total failure of services and public infrastructure as the top issues of concern for the 2023 in the WEF's annual Global Risk Perception Survey. Well, joining us on this discussion, our Institute of Risk Management SA board member and Purple Group Risk Officer, Nicole Comninos, in studio with us. And of course, on Zoom, we have got the former Statistician-General of South Africa, Dr. Pali Lehohla, who is currently the Director of Economic Modelling Academy and a Professor of Practice at the University of Johannesburg. So welcome to my guests. It's wonderful to have you. Thanks for coming into studio, Nicole. Thank you very much. It's good to have you here. And Pali, always such a pleasure to have you on the program.
Oh, no, thank you very much, Leanne. My battery is very low and the lights might have been off for a number of hours.
Oh, the story of our lives. Well, yeah. that has convinced me now to begin with you, because we want to get and pick your brain as much as we can before the lights disappear and the batteries go dead. None of the concerns raised on you, everything I said in the introduction, and some have appeared on reports such as the IMF after its visit to South Africa, for example, but the country seems to be on a downward spiral, no matter what way we look at it. The IRMSA has previously released a report that focused on the risk assessment of South Africa. What are we doing? Some of these are just own goals, and we are really, really making it very, very difficult for businesses to succeed and the risk factor to get higher and higher. Pali, let's begin with you.
Well, Leanne, let's get back to what South Africa had done in 2017 using the Indula Meti scenarios. We have definitively said we are in a Gwara situation, and the Gwara situation is a land of disorder where people have lost hope and everybody is doing their own thing. This is where we are, and Indula Meti has then assessed in 2021 what the situation was, and in 2022, and we have deepened the Gwara situation. It's all in front of us. It's not some own goals, it's all on goals. There's nothing in this country that is functioning. All are on goals, including not considering what Zondo has said. I mean, the issues that the Zondo Commission raises and the issues and evidence that is before us suggests that we should be actioning Zondo Commission report with speed, but we can't, because I mean the president has the Pala issue himself. So there is everything that is wrong in the country.
Mm-hmm. And that is the biggest problem, because I mean we just keep seeing stories coming out more and more, and I mean let's just add to it now what we're hearing with what's happening in Russia and South Africa supposedly, allegedly supplying arms, and the president not necessarily knowing about this and instituting a whole look into this, then sends out currency crumbling, which of course will lead to higher diesel and petrol prices, and we'll start seeing foodstuffs even increase more. More than likely, interest rates are going to go up again because the Reserve Bank have a mandate they are following, so they say they've got no option. This cycle is getting worse and worse. It feels like we're in a tornado, or as Pali calls it, this Gwara situation. Yeah. Talk to us from your perspective.
So, Leanne, I think I'm wearing two hats. I think the one is just the Institute of Risk Management of South Africa. I sit on their board. It's a non-profit organization. So many of us around the table, executives representing businesses, organizations, both public and private sector, ranging from small, medium to large organizations. We take our time and we do that on a pro bono basis. And the reason we do that is because we believe in the South African economy. South Africans are resilient by nature. We are extremely productive. We're able to be resourceful in very challenging times. And you mentioned a little bit earlier, we issue the risk management report every year, the IRMSA South Africa risk report. We issued one over the last 5 years. The trends have really been focusing on corruption, entrenched fraud, and the challenges. Looking at last year's report, it was really talking about it becoming really systemic and being entrenched in the fabric of our society, which is becoming very challenging. And so I think with that hat on, what I wanted to focus on is just what we need to do as risk leaders in order to turn that narrative around. And I'm very privileged, and maybe it's the circles that I work in, also being an executive of Purple Group and Easy Equities. We're a small business. We've been around for about 20 years. I mean, there's lots of businesses that have been around for many, many years in South Africa. We've built multinational businesses in South Africa that have become global businesses. And I think just focusing on that narrative of the positive that we can turn around in terms of the business. So as a risk manager, my key thing is we have to root out the entrenched corruption. And the only way to do that is by being extremely brave. You've got to be the unpopular one in the room. You've got to say some of these things are unethical. Some of these things are borderline. We are not okay with this type of behavior. We can't sit back and accept it anymore. So we have to stand up and do that. I think some of the other things that we can do is just make sure that we give our whistleblowers a voice, that we protect our whistleblower interests. Organizations such as Whistleblowers House, the work that Cynthia Stimple and them are doing, it's just phenomenal. We at the Institute of Risk Management of South Africa recognized them at the end of last year at our annual awards function. They were the Risk Influencer of the Year, and we made it generic. We made it the South African whistleblowers. We didn't name any specific individuals. Gibbs put up a wall of fame for whistleblowers. So making sure we focus on those controls. So as a risk manager, for me, it's what are you doing? What are your mitigating actions? What are your controls that you are putting in place? And supporting those individuals that want to make a difference, such as whistleblowers.
So I get you, and I am the same as you. I'm an optimist, and the eternal optimist, and I want to believe that these things can work. But Pali, I want to speak to you now. You know, one of the things that is actually getting to me is how we keep on calling ourselves one of the most resilient nations in the world. My question is, how much must we take, and why do we actually need to be this resilient, where we have got people that are sitting genuinely without water now and I'm talking bustling urban areas, capitals of cities, not out in rural areas, which we've been crying about for so long to get running water. But now in cities, it's not working. Electricity, some people have not seen a single light for the last, since Monday. It is now Friday. They haven't had a light. Substations are exploding. The grid is overpowered. Everything is going wrong. So yes, we talk about the good, but some things are just beyond our control. So, Pali, I mean, what do we need to do as South Africans?
And we have got comical Ali on steroids in South Africa. You remember the war in Iraq, where comical Ali kept on saying, this is a frog being cooked in water, and it's being cooked. And it's slowly rotting. I mean, the Guara scenarios are showing this, that we are on Guara on steroids. We cannot continue to say that we are resilient. This is a falsehood of mega proportions. We have been abused for too long. We have to say it as it is. Industry, I mean, if you see the youth unemployment in absolute and relative numbers, that it has increased from 2008 in absolute numbers from about 2 million to about 7 million today, that the youth in absolute numbers have increased, while at least above 34 people have had jobs. There is no hope that youth see in the future of this country. And I mean, Rome is burning, and we want to say we are resilient. We can't be resilient when things are going so bad. People are going hungry. So, yes, messages of hope are fine, but please don't give me hope when there is no hope.
And Nicole, this is a concern of a lot of South Africans, because we can spew hope out, and that's what we've done for all of these years. But we get to a point now, how do you send hope to somebody who has no idea where the next meal is going to come from? They cannot afford the food because it is unaffordable. They cannot find a job because the unemployment rate is at unbelievably, unacceptably high levels, and there's no hope of jobs or growth in the economy. And it just doesn't seem that the government is doing anything to fix it. And this is where the hopelessness comes in. So, you know, we talk to this, and unemployment must be one of the biggest risk factors in this country.
No, definitely, Leanne. Look, like you said, I am an optimist, but I am a realist. And the reality is, if you look at the statistics, and it depends on the reports that you look at, but there was a report issued by Unite from Mzansi, which was funded by the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants and a whole host of other business leaders, which they issued in June 2021, which covered statistics from 2014 to 2019, and quoting a number of 1.5 trillion rand, which fraud and corruption has cost our country. On average, that's somewhere between 250 to 300 billion rand per annum. It's unfathomable, and it's frustrating, and it's to the core of it, it's unethical in its nature. And I suppose that's what I'm saying as risk leaders, it's so important for us to go back to the efficacy of society. Fraud and corruption is holding us back from economic growth. It's holding us back from solving our biggest problem in South Africa, which is our massive social inequality. We've got one of the highest Gini coefficients in the world, the difference between the have and the have-not. We have to narrow that wealth gap. But the reason I remain optimistic and why I remain positive about the outlook of South Africa is because I look at the statistics. So I'm an analyst, I'm a chartered financial analyst. One of our grueling exams is our ethics exams, and we have to renew that every year. And for me, it's critical. Going back to our education system in South Africa, looking at an article that Adrian Gore, again, a phenomenal business that has been built in South Africa, Discovery Group, spoke about earlier this year. He spoke about 75% of the assets in South Africa, pension fund assets in Africa, comes from South Africa. That's a massive amount of assets. We've built up a phenomenal institutional investor base. If you look at the airlines between Cape Town and Joburg, it's one of the 20th busiest airline routes in the world. If you look at the stock exchange, I worked at the JSE for the bulk of my career. It's the 20th largest stock exchange in the world by market capitalization. We've built those financial markets. We've built that ecosystem. Roughly half of the participants that trade in our markets are foreign investors. They believe in our story. So yes, I hear that we have a lot of challenges to face, but the reality is that we are resilient. We're building multinational businesses. We are continuing to grow. I represent Easy Equities, and the business that we built about 8 years ago, we're a fintech, we're a startup. It's really tough to operate in these economic climates. Our clients pay more on their home loans, their car loans. They can't invest more. But a business that had 2,000 investors 8 years ago now has 1.8 million registered users. And those users have built up a portfolio of about 30 billion assets. Even in these tough times with interest rates being high, paying more loans, they've saved 10% more than they did last year. I'm seeing that asset base grow. And South Africans and the middle class want to make a difference and invest in their own financial freedom.
The middle class, which is getting smaller and smaller, unfortunately, and that's probably one of the biggest problems as well. Pali, I'm going to leave it with you to wrap this. Hearing stories like this, I mean, it certainly does help. We cannot eliminate this, because these are wonderful stories, great numbers, and good stories to tell out of South Africa. Does it help you? Because I know that you are one of the realists out there that really speaks to it. But hearing things like this, does it help you? Should this help the psyche of South Africa?
Well, South Africa has a fantastic asset base of minerals and everything. For 400 years, black people have not benefited from this. And this kind of stories continue and give us hope, where the design is actually meant to benefit those who have been exploiting this country for years. There hasn't been fundamental change in the architecture of exploitation in South Africa. And this is the problem that deepens the crisis. And until we crack that, which is basically, why is the IMF telling us that we have deepened our crisis when it is actually designed us to deepen that crisis? By design, be it at the JSE, be it at all these investments, by design, this is meant to exploit blacks to the bone. And it is evidenced by the collaboration of government and business to where we are today, where unemployment has heightened, growth has declined. It's all by design. Eskom has been destroyed. Look at Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky says, defund it, make sure that things don't work, people get angry, and then sell it for scrap. This is what is happening. We have to confront that capitalist system, which is rotten to the bone, and it is exhibiting itself in South Africa today. So these stories don't benefit the poor. because by design they are not meant to do so.
I don't want to wrap it, but I have to. I've been told I've got to wrap the interview, but that's the note we leave it on here this morning.
Can I maybe add one thought, Leanne?
Okay, try.
It's just that I spoke about the 1.8 million registered users on Easy Equities. The core of our purpose statement is to democratize investing, making it accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Our average investor is early 30s. They're representative of the demographics of South Africa. They're black South Africans, male, female, roughly 50-50. The story is phenomenal. They've invested in themselves about 30,000 Rand average is each portfolio size. And yes, it is challenging, but I'm seeing the difference on the grassroots, and that middle class is investing in themselves and want to grow the country and the asset base.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Thank you. Thanks to both of you for talking to us. And again, touching the surface there, but really an interesting discussion there. Former Statistician-General of South Africa, Dr. Pali Lehohla, who's currently the Director of Economic Modelling at the Economic Modelling Academy, I beg your pardon, and a Professor of Practice at the University of Johannesburg. And also talking to us in studio was Nicole, who is a Risk Management SA board member and Purple Group Risk Officer. Thank you. Thanks to both of you for joining us.